So today I'm going to be sharing with you how to draft, cut and sew a dartless pencil skirt using the hip allocation method. This method is going to give your skirt a very nice fitting at the back, and also is going to help the contours at the back to come out really well. So if you're interested, please watch this video till the end. When drafting my pencil skirt, I like to cut both the lining piece and my main fabric at the same time. So here, when I had to cut out the front block of the skirt, and I'm going to be cutting the front block on fold, I have the lining piece, and this is me placing my main fabric on the lining piece, as you can see me doing in the video. So to know the amount of fabric to cut for the front block, all you need to do is to divide your hip measurement by 4, then you add your sewing allowance of 2 inch or 1.5 inch, depending on what you use. So I'm just going to go ahead to pin the main fabric to the lining. So after pinning my fabric to the lining together, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to draw a straight horizontal line at the top of my fabric like this. This line is going to be serving as the waistline. The pencil skirt I'm going to be making today is not going to be having a waistband. So if you're attaching a waistband to your skirt, you need to go ahead to minus the waistband measurement from your full skirt length. But for me, I'm not attaching a waistband. So I'm just going to go ahead to place my tape on the waistline, and I'll take out my waist to hip depth measurement, which is 9 inch. After marking that, I'll go ahead to take my waist to 2 inch above the knee, which is 21 inch. Next, I'll go ahead to mark the full length of the skirt, which is 42 inch. After marking, I'll draw straight horizontal lines at the point I just marked, like you see me doing in the video. Next, I'll go ahead to start inserting my body circumference measurement. So on the waistline, I'll mark my waist measurement divided by 4 and mark. Then I'll mark a sewing allowance of 2 inch. Note that this skirt is not going to be having a dart, so there will be no dart allowance on the waist. Next, we're going to go ahead to move over to the hip depth line. So for the hip depth line, we're not going to be dividing our hip measurement by 4 like we all do. We're going to be using the hip allocation method, where we are going to be allocating a portion to the front and a portion to the back. So the first thing to do is to divide your actual hip measurement by 2. So the hip measurement I'm working with is 44 divided by 2 is 22 inch. So next, you're going to be allocating a portion to the front and a portion to the back. So to calculate the amount to insert to the front, you're going to go ahead to take half of the hip measurement, which in my case is 22 inch. Then you go ahead to minus 1 inch or 1.5 inch. What you're to minus depend on how curvy the person you are working with is. If the person is very curvy, you go ahead to minus 1.5 inch. But if the person is not too curvy, you go ahead to minus 1 inch from half of the hip measurement. So once you do that, you're going to go ahead to divide the answer by 2, because you'll be cutting the front on fold. So after minusing 1.5 inch from 22 inch, what I got was 20.5 inch. I'm going to go ahead to divide this 20.5 inch into 2, and the answer I got is 10.25. So I'm going to be using 10.25 for the front hip measurement. So once I'm done with this, I'm going to go ahead to calculate for the back. So for the back, what you're going to go ahead to do is to take the 1.5 inch you took from the front and add it to half of the hip measurement for the back. So for the back, you're going to go ahead to do half of your hip measurement plus 1.5 inch. So after adding this up, what I got was 23.5. After that, you're going to go ahead to divide it into 2, because you'll be cutting the back on fold also. So 23.5 divided by 2 is 11.75. So I'm going to be using 11.75 for the back and 10.25 for the front. So when you add these two up, you're going to be getting half of your hip measurement. I hope this is clear. So now we're going to go ahead to insert this 10.25 on the hip line on the front block of the skirt. After inserting the 10.25 on the hip depth line, I also go ahead to mark the seam allowance of 2 inch. Then I'll connect the waist to the hip depth using the curved part of my ruler like this. So next, I'll move over to the nail line. So I'm making a pencil skirt and I want it fitted on the nail area. So to get that fitting at that point, what I'll go ahead to do is to minus 6 inch from my hip measurement. So the hip measurement I'm working with is 44, minus 6 inch is 38. So I'm going to go ahead to divide that 38 by 4, and whatever I get, I'll mark it on the nail line, and I'll also add 2 inch extra for the sewing allowance. So if you don't want yours to be fitted, you can simply go ahead to minus 4 inch from your round hip measurement, then you divide it by 4 and add your sewing allowance. And if you don't want to use this method, you can simply go ahead to measure what you have on your waist area and mark that same thing on the nail line. Then you connect the points together. After marking this on the nail line, I'm going to go ahead to mark the same thing on the hemline, after which I'll connect the point together with my ruler like you see me doing in the video. After connecting the points, this is what it is going to look like. So on this hemline, remember this line here is for the actual full length. I'm not going to be cutting off this excess. I'm going to be folding it over like this because I don't want my lining piece and my main fabric to be the same, and I want my Ankara to overlap on the inner part. I'm going to be folding it in like this, but before I go ahead to do that, I'm going to be trimming this part so that I'll have equal edges on this part of the skirt. After trimming that part, I'm just going to go ahead to cut off this excess I have on the side of the skirt like you see me doing in the video. After cutting off the excess, I'm going to come back to the hem of the skirt. So I'll fold in the excess I have like this. After folding it in, I'm going to go ahead to fold it over again like this. Then I'll cut off this lining I have at the back. So I'm just going to go ahead to cut it off. Then I'll show you what it's going to look like after stitching the lining piece to the main fabric. So once you stitch your lining to the main fabric, this is what the hem of the skirt is going to look like. You notice that your Ankara is going to fold in to the skirt and the lining is going to be starting from where the Ankara stops. So this is what the front block of the skirt is going to look like. So next we're going to move over to cutting of the back block. So for the back, I'm going to be repeating the same process. I'll be cutting both my lining piece and my main fabric at the same time. So to know the amount of fabric to fold for the back block of your skirt, all you need to do is to divide your hip measurement by 4. Then you add 2 inch extra for the sewing allowance, then 4 inch extra for the zipper allowance, and also for the 1.5 inch you took out from the front to add to the back. So you're going to be adding 6 inch extra to your actual hip measurement divided by 4. That is the amount of fabric you are going to be folding. So after pinning the fabric to the lining, the next I'm going to go ahead to do now is to mark my zipper allowance and also the 1.5 inch I took out from the front on the center back. So my zipper allowance is 1.5 inch. Then the 1.5 inch I took out from the front and added to the back is 1.5 inch. That makes it 3 inch. So I'll go ahead to mark the 3 inch on the center back like this, after which I'll connect the points together with a straight line. After marking this, the next I'm going to go ahead to do is to place the front block of the skirt on the back like this, making sure that the front block starts from the line I have marked on the center back. So I'm just going to go ahead to place it like this, then I will arrange it. Once I'm done arranging it, I'll go ahead to start inserting the measurement. So note that the side of both the front and the back is going to be the same. The only alteration is going to be on the hip depth line, which is going to be on the center back. At this point you see me touching. Every other thing is going to be the same thing. So the next we are going to go ahead to do now is to mark the 11.75 that was allocated to the back hip. So and to do that, I'm just going to go ahead to add that to the front. So remember this point here is my front plus swing allowance. So what I'm going to go ahead to do is to start taking my measurement from this actual point, which is the front hip. So I'll place my tape rule at this point and I'll measure the 11.75 like this. So I'll extend the hip depth line to the back. Then I'll place my tape rule on my actual front hip. So I'm going to go ahead to place my tape rule and take my measurement from my actual front hip measurement. Note that I'm not taking this measurement from the zipper from the sewing allowance. I'm taking this measurement from the point I marked. So this point here is the actual front hip measurement. So from that point, I'm going to go ahead to take the 11.75 inch that was allocated to the back and I'll mark it like this. Once I'm done doing that, the next I'm going to go ahead to do is to connect the waist to the hip depth line with the curved part of my ruler. So the waist for both the front and the back is the same. We are not altering the waist, we're just working on the hip depth line of the skirt. So I'm just going to go ahead to connect the waist to the hip depth line using the curved part of my ruler like you see me doing in the video. So after doing that, I'm going to be coming down by 5 inch from the hip depth line and mark like this. Then I'll go ahead to connect the hip depth line to the point I just marked like you see me doing in the video. So this is what the center back of the skirt is going to look like. This curve at the back is going to make the skirt very fitted behind. So the next I'm going to go ahead to do now is to mark my zipper allowance of 1.5 inch, as you can see me doing all the way down to the hem of the skirt. So basically, this is what the back block of the skirt is going to look like. Like I said, the side is the same. We're only working on the center back. The next I'm going to go ahead to do now is to cut it out. So after cutting it, this is what the back block of the skirt is going to look like. The next I'm going to go ahead to do now is to notch the zipper allowance. So I'm just going to go ahead to fold this part into two and notch to indicate that this part is going to be the center back of the skirt. So once I'm done notching it, I'm also going to go ahead to reduce the lining for the back like I did for the front. And to do that, what I'll go ahead to do is to fold my front block like this, that is the Ankara, and I'll also fold the Ankara on the back block like this. Then I'll place this front lining piece on the back, after which I'm going to go ahead to trim it off so that both the front and back lining will be equal after joining the lining to the main fabric. So after trimming the lining, the next I'm going to go ahead to do now is to join the lining piece to the skirt. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead to open up my skirt like this. Then I'll go ahead to place the lining piece on the good face of the skirt. After placing the lining piece on the good face of the skirt, the first thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to sew the waist area of the skirt. I'm going to be stitching the waist area of the skirt. After sewing the waist area of the skirt, I will drag the lining down and also sew the hem of the skirt. So once I'm done sewing the hem of the skirt, I'm going to go ahead to pull the lining up again and close up the side. So for the side, you're going to start sewing from the waist all the way to the hem of the skirt and repeat the same thing for the other side. You're going to be leaving a little space that will be used to turn the skirt over to the good face, and I'll be repeating the same thing on the back block of the skirt also. So here I'm going ahead to attach the lining piece to my main fabric, and I've turned it over and give it a good press, and this is what I have. This is what the hem of the skirt looks like on the inside of the skirt. So this is what you should have once you're done joining your lining piece to the main fabric. And I've also gone ahead to repeat the same thing for the back, and this is what the back block of the skirt looks like once I was done stitching it. So the next I'm going to go ahead to do now is to join the front and the back of the skirt together. So before you go ahead to join your front and back together, make sure you check to see if the length of both the front and the back is the same. If it is not the same, you need to go back and work on it to make sure that both the front and the back length is the same. So the next thing to do once you've confirmed that they are equal is to close up the sides of the skirts using the sewing allowance you use. So I'm going to be closing up the side using 1.75. After closing up the side, I'm going to be closing up the center of the skirt. I'll be fixing my zipper on the center part. So from the waistline, I'm going to be coming down by at least 9 inch. I'll be fixing my zipper at this point. Make sure you follow the curve you have on the back of the skirt. Then I'll close up this remaining part down to where I want my slit opening to be. After which I'll go ahead to finish up the slit of the skirt using my hemming gum. So after joining the front and the back block of the skirt together, this is what it looks like. So if you find this video helpful, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and also drop a comment. Thank you for watching. I will see you in my other tutorials.